And welcome back, Nats fans, to another episode of the DoDcast Postgame Show. With the Washington Nationals beating the New York Mets by a final score of 7-2. They've taken the first two games of the 4-game set, now raised their lead in the East back up to 10.5. Seems a long time from the panic that everybody had a couple of days ago. I'm your host, co-editor Ricky Keeler, and joined by my co-host here, staff writer Drew Douglas. Drew, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. It's always good to see the Nats beat the Mets.
That's definitely true. So we want to hear from you tonight as Max Scherzer again throws another gem. No surprise there. Feel free to send us a comment here in the chat room on the YouTube page. You can also tweet me on Twitter at DistrictOnDeck or at Rickinator555. I want to hear from you throughout the night. So, Drew, before we dive into specifics, give me your overall thoughts on this win tonight.
I thought it was another great performance from Max Scherzer, which is nothing new. And just the offense is just so great this year with the bottom of the lineup performing, with guys like Wieters and Taylor going back to back, and just every single starting position player got a hit tonight. And this is probably the best lineup that we've ever seen in Washington.
Absolutely, lineup was on fire in this ball game. 3 home runs is really all you need in this one for Max Scherzer, as he had his ace stuff toward the end of the game. He struggled early, but I thought the big double plays were huge for him. We'll dive into those specifically in a second. Seth Ross is here. How you doing, Seth? He's going to the Cubs series. That's a fun series. We'll have great coverage for that series coming up in a couple of weeks at Nats Park. But let's look at Max Scherzer's line for a minute. But we do the totals here: 7 runs, 12 hits for the Nationals, 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors for the Mets, and some costly errors, both by Yoenis Cespedes, who's not playing left field particularly well because he looks still hobbled out there. Max Scherzer gets the win. He goes 8-4. He goes 8 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, 118 pitches, 84 strikes. And the best line of the night, Drew, 26 of 29 first pitch strikes. Now, when we're talking, keep in mind, a good game is usually like out of 29, like 17, 18, if you're lucky. To get 26 out of 29, and when you probably had not your A-plus stuff, like I would say your like B-plus stuff to your A-minus stuff, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like you said, he didn't have his best stuff tonight. Early in the game, his changeup was running a little bit to his arm side, and he hit a few guys and hit a few walks. But he found a way to get it done like he always does, and he keeps proving time and time again that he is worth that huge contract that the Nationals gave him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought the key second inning, first and second, nobody out. He walks Duda, hits Rivera, which he hit both batters with the changeup, as you mentioned. No rising apple. Max does not hit people on purpose. He barely hits people to begin with. But he gets Travis down to a ground to a 5-4-3 double play, instantly erases that damage. He had 3 double plays, according to the Nationals. That's his career high, dating back to 2010 was the last time that he did that. So the double plays were key for him. And he just looked locked in. I mean, the best at bat of the night for him, I would say, is the 8th inning. Now, again, he gives up the home run to Reyes, which hung a breaking ball, he doesn't really throw a lot of those, so it's no surprise. But he wins an 11-pitch battle with Cespedes. He's running after every pitch and then gets that slider, gets the 10 strikeouts for now the 5th straight game, which is a Nats record. He's now had, I think, over the 5 games, I tweeted this out earlier from District on Deck account and try to pull it up here, 58 strikeouts to 7 walks in his last 5. And Drew, I think what did you take away from that at bat with Cespedes?
I thought he was pretty spent. He'd thrown easily over 100 pitches, but he's a bulldog out there, and he gave it everything he had. And it was just 2 of the best in the game going at it, and Scherzer managed to win the battle.
Ron says Max isn't Pedro. Yeah, probably not, but I mean, he did tie Pedro's Expos, second tie for the second highest in Expos history. And Seth says, always great talking guys, and throwing strikes is wonders for teams. Yes, it does. But Ron asked us a question, Drew, so I want to answer that. Why do they play better on the road? They meaning Nats. And I'll answer, then you can chime in. I think, Ron, they don't have to hear the boos, and when they're at home, there's anticipation that the bullpen's going to come in and blow the game. They don't have to hear that on the road. They just go out there and they play loose. They play a different game offensively. They're not pressing to score runs. True, they've left a couple of situations in this series where they've left guys on base and haven't put the game away early, but they just look more loose away from home.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The bullpen has not been good this year, so it could be a little bit of anticipation. And also, this team has played with a lot of fire, so I think a few guys like Murphy always gets booed in New York, and Harper gets booed seemingly wherever he goes. So I feel like maybe they're fueled a little bit by the boos, and it gives them a little extra motivation.
Steven Matz took the loss for the Mets. 7 innings, 4 runs, 8 hits, 4 strikeouts. I didn't even think Matz looked that bad in this game. He had his good stuff working. I mean, he just made 3 mistakes, and 2 of them came in the 3rd inning. Matt Wieters and Michael Taylor with back-to-back home runs. And it seems like, Drew, when we watch a Nats game, Wieters and Taylor seem to always go back-to-back at some point. The way that those two have stabilized the bottom of the order has been huge. Taylor, back-to-back games with a home run. And then you have Wieters, who's hit 4 of his 8 home runs against the Mets this year. Those two have done a great job at the bottom of this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And FP touched on it a little bit during the game. He was saying that if the pitcher has to work really hard to get through the heart of the lineup, and then maybe they'll relax a little bit when they see 7, 8, 9 coming up. But when you have Wieters, Taylor, and then a pitcher spot, the Nationals pitchers usually hit pretty well for a pitcher. But yeah, the bottom of the lineup could definitely be possibly a lot further up on other teams.
And let me add on to FP's point. Matt Wieters only saw 12 pitches and 5 at-bats, but the difference had to be the guy in front of him, as you said, Drew. Anthony Rendon, 28 pitches over 5 at-bats tonight. So doing what he does, taking pitches, making people work. He got the walk against Ramirez in the 9th to drive in a run. He hit a 2-run homer in the 6th that cleared the wall in right, his 4th against the Mets this year. He's now up to 12. So Wieters actually has 6, so pardon me, it's 4 out of his 6. It's even a better ratio than I thought. But Taylor, I think, had a really nice game. He hit the home run, but the key there to kind of ease all the tension, he gets the bunt single in the 9th inning. He takes second. We're not used to seeing Michael Taylor stealing a lot of bases, and a 3-run game was kind of a surprise, and it ends up leading to a huge insurance run.
Yeah, the bunt, it wasn't the greatest bunt. He got it up in the air, but with his speed, he was able to beat it out and then, again, utilize his speed to steal second and kind of start off a big inning for the Nets.
And he's been absolutely on a tear lately. Again, the home run last night, just doing everything he can offensively. Daniel Murphy, another hit tonight. He's been on base 27 straight against the Mets. No surprise there. Ryan Zimmerman picked up an RBI in the 9th. He's now hitting 361 with 53 RBIs, which is insane. But Bryce Harper has been the story these first 2 games. Of course, he had the 160-mile-an-hour missile that I was at the game last night. I couldn't see the ball leave the yard. That's how fast it was going. And I was in right center, so I was not that far away from the home run. But 3 hits tonight, base hit in the 4th. He had a double in the 8th, and then a base hit in the 9th, when I was kind of surprised that they even pitched to Harper to begin with. But that's just how good Ryan Zimmerman has been. And now he's up to a 9-game hitting streak. So while Harper has not hit as many home runs, he does have 2 this week. The home run power has subsided a little bit. He's done a nice job, I think, Drew, of getting base hits and doubles and taking what the pitcher gives him, and that's why he's hitting 320 to start the season.
Yeah, he's playing really well right now, and he's done a great job all around. He's hitting. He's playing great defense. In the Texas series, he threw a guy out the plate with a 98-mile-per-hour throw from right field. And then he's done a pretty good job of base running. And tonight he stopped at third when Henley was sending him around, but other than that, I think he's done a great job on the bases.
Yeah, personally, I think he just slipped, but I'll take it as a stop. Stop is better. Slipping a stop is better than getting thrown out the plate for the 2nd straight night. Let me answer a couple questions here. Judo Joker, how you doing, Judo? Do you think Max Scherzer gets 300 strikeouts this season? It's a long time. I don't recall a lot of people getting 300 strikeouts. He's at 134 right now. Or 4. I think this is counting tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I'm looking at ESPN. It's at 134. So if he keeps this pace up, I don't think he's going to keep it up. But keep this in mind: he has struck out 6 in at least every game. I think he's got a shot if he stays healthy of at least 250, 275.
Yeah, 300 is a lot, but with the bullpen going the way it is, he's been asked to throw a lot of innings, and he's been pitching out of his mind this year. So I definitely think he has a shot at possibly getting to 300 strikeouts.
And Seth says, do we think Taylor could be I won't say right-in, but an all-star replacement if somebody gets hurt? I just think, Seth, as good as Taylor's been, there's just so many good outfielders in the National League. Personally, I live in New York, and I would put Michael Conforto over Michael Taylor as an all-star. I think he's just been that good this year. I think Taylor's hurt by depth, but make no mistake, he's kind of the Nats' own all-star when you consider how good he's been since Adam Eaton's went down. He's taken this third chance by the horns, and he's ran with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure Taylor's an all-star, but there's so many like bigger names out there, and I'm not sure Madden would pick Taylor as a replacement, but he's definitely been a pleasant surprise filling in for Eaton this year.
All right, so the Nationals go to 41-26. The Mets drop to 30-36. So it's getting a little bit bleaker for the Mets. They just put Matt Harvey in the DL today, Juan Lagar's on the DL. So things don't look that easy for them. We'll get through the pitching matchups in a sec. Pitching match for tomorrow. Final thing, at least on this game. What are they going to, Drew? What are they going to do with Sean Kelly? I mean, I think right now he's the mop-up guy. It's plain and simple, but he gave up another home run to Jay Bruce. He almost gave up one to TJ Rivera. They've got to figure out what the heck has gone wrong. Usually it's been his fastball, but tonight his slider was getting hit a ton.
Yeah, it's been weird because last year he was one of their most reliable relievers, and just this year it's been a whole nother story. And I think once Cody Glover comes back from his injury, Kelly might get DFA'd. So I don't know. I think Kelly's days as a Nat might be numbered.
That's a tough one because DFA might be a tough ask because they do have an extra year still on that deal. So they'd have to eat that year as well. And the Nats don't usually like to eat that kind of money. So they're going to have to figure something out. And maybe he goes on the DL or something if there's an injury. Ron brings up phantom DL trip. That's probably the best bet because I can't see them eating all that money with Kelly. But something's got to change. I mean, at least Joe Blanton's figured something out since coming back from the DL, even though he gave up a home run last night. But there's just been no progress from Kelly. And really, he's I think, the only reliever on this team who hasn't really shown any improvement this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think possibly the 2 Tommy John surgeries are beginning to catch up with him. Last year in Game 5 of the NLDS, he came out with an arm injury, and he said he was fine. But I wonder if possibly something did happen then, or if maybe that was nothing, just the surgeries are finally catching up with him.
Judo says, good, thanks for this, Judo. Kershaw did have 300 Ks in 2015. It was more common with Pedro, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens. Yes, that's true. But again, you also have the era of 6-7 inning guys. Scherzer kind of goes 7-8 inning guys. So he does have a chance at it. I just won't go as far as predicting it. I had the over-under at 9 Ks. It was barely over. So those who took the over on our poll tonight, good job. You don't win anything, but good job anyway. Let's take a look at what's going on around the division before we look at tomorrow's matchup. 2 games in the division tonight. Marlins are shutting out the Braves 5-0. That game about to be final. Well, actually just went final. 4-hit shutout for Miami. The win goes to Dan Straley, 8 strikeouts over 6 1/3. Christian Yelich, 3 RBIs, and Justin Bour, a 2-run shot. Sean Newcomb took the loss for the Braves, their top pitching prospect. And out in Philadelphia, the Phillies lose to the Diamondbacks 5-4. Arizona scores 3 runs in the 7th, a 2-run shot by Gregor Blanco. Daniel Descalso RBI, and Jake Lamb up to 58 RBIs for them this year. Patrick Corbin got the win. Fernando Rodney saved number 19. So that's what's gone on in the division tonight. I know Ron likes to have the Orioles score. They lost again. 11-2 to St. Louis. Not been good for Baltimore lately. Let's look at tomorrow's pitching matchup. I'll be with you for the game tomorrow and the post game. You can catch it on Masson and WUSA 9 at 4:10 Eastern. Steven Strasburg takes the ball for the Nats, 7-2 with a 3.27 ERA against Seth Lugo for the Mets. Lugo 1-0 with a 1.29, making his second start back from injury. So, Drew, what do you expect from Strasburg tomorrow? Rough outing against Atlanta, but I tend to not dismiss that game, but he does not pitch well in high heat and a lot of humidity. And we've seen that in Turner Field before. Are you expecting a bounce-back game tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go maybe 7 innings, only give up a run or 2, and put the Nats in a good position to get a win.
Yeah, I think that's kind of. I'm not going to go 7. I think he'll throw a good game. His numbers at Citi Field are really good. 6-1 with a 1.97 ERA and 8 career starts. So you like the numbers there. So you definitely have that to fall back on. He did lose to the Mets earlier this season. Back in April, gave up 3 runs, 6 hits over 7 innings, only struck out 2. Conforto hit the home run off him in that game, but strikeout numbers have been up 7+ in 5 straight. So he's definitely found the strikeouts again. That's a big positive. Seth Lugo is going to be an interesting challenge. He did pitch well against the Braves first time out, 7 innings, 1 run, 6 hits in the doubleheader last week. And he pitched well against the Nationals last year. I believe he pitched on a Sunday night game in September. He pitched well for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic, so that's something to remember. Last year, he went 7 innings, 1 run, 6 hits, struck out 4 to 5-1 win. So the Nats, they didn't really have a lot of success against Mets outside of the home run. So if the home run ball isn't there against Lugo, I can see this being a pitcher's duel. But I like the Nationals in this game. I wonder right now where the Mets' momentum is at. They just have not looked good, at least in this first 2 games of the series. If you can get ahead early, right now, their momentum with all their injuries and all the negativity around them right now, this has been an opportunity. Sunday is looking like a loss on paper, but that's why they play the games with Joe Roskins, Jacob deGrom. But I think the key here against Lugo, Drew, is get ahead early and give Strasburg some runs.
Yeah, and momentum is huge. Tonight in the game, the Mets had the first and second and no outs in the second inning, and Scherzer managed to wiggle out of it. And then immediately after, Wieters and Taylor went back-to-back, and the Nats gained all the momentum there. And from there on, it was really the Nats' game to lose. So if they can get momentum early tomorrow, with as much that's going on with the Mets, I think it's definitely an advantage towards the Nationals.
So before we do minor league scoreboard, and a lot of interesting high-scoring games tonight around the Nats minor league system, let's talk about sort of the small news story of the day. The Nats are bringing back Edwin Jackson on a minor league deal. He will go to Syracuse. I know, Drew, the name Edwin Jackson does not resonate well with Nationals fans. Of course, Ron and I are relatively new, but I remember Jackson from 2012 a little bit. Was with Baltimore, had a cup of coffee there, got cut about a week or 2 ago. Your thoughts on the Edwin Jackson signing?
I think it's a good depth move, but I'm not sure that he can really make a big impact on the major league level. But it's definitely good to have just a little more depth in the minors in case of an injury.
Yeah, and I'll have more on this tomorrow, but the key, the Chiefs don't have a lot of innings from their starters. They barely average 5 innings between all of them that have made 6 or more starts. They need guys to give innings, and I think Edwin Jackson can at least do that. He's had some success at the major league level, at least last year with San Diego. He had a little bit. And I think if there's an injury, he's a guy, without Jackson, I don't know who you call up that you feel confident in. I'm not saying you feel confident in Jackson, but at least he's kind of like Matt Latos. If I get a guy like that, somebody gets hurt and yet need a spot start from Jackson, I'm not saying you feel confident, but I think I feel that, hey, give me 5 innings. And Seth, he has pitched out of the bullpen before. He did that mostly last year, I think, with Miami. So there is a possibility there that he could be a bullpen guy. But I think they got enough of those guys trying to do that in the first place. Let's look around the minors, and let's start with a high-scoring game in Lehigh Valley as the Chiefs leading the Iron Pigs 11-9. That game's still going on, top of the 9th. Wilmer Diffo, a 3-hit game. Brandon Snyder, 3 RBIs. Andrew Stevenson has 3 hits. Rough night for Austin Voth on the mound, though. 5 innings, 5 earned runs, 6 hits. But the story on the mound is Eric Fetty. An inning and 2/3, 1 run, 3 hits, 4 strikeouts, 27 of 41 pitches were strikes. His off-speed stuff looked really good. And that's a tough lineup. Lehigh Valley is one of the best teams in AAA. They're 43-23. So I liked what I saw from Fetty. I was watching a little bit of that during the 8th inning in this game. And I come away so far through 2 games liking what Fetty's done at Syracuse with those off-speed pitches, but keep an eye on that pitch count. It's been a little bit high, and I wonder what Fetty's role will be going forward. Harrisburg with a 9-6 lead against Richmond. That game in the 9th. 3 kabooms for the Senators tonight. Osvaldo Abreu, Jose Marmolejos, and Roddy Reed have a few home runs. And Workin Estevez looking like he's on his way to his first AA win. Just got promoted the other day. 5 1/3, 3 runs, 7 hits. 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, but enough to get the job done. Marmoleos, by the way, hitting .331. I've liked what he's done at AA this year. Potomac and Carolina played like about an inning or so, and then that game got suspended, so they'll pick it up tomorrow. Victor Robles is back in the lineup. That's great news. And a rough game for Hagerstown tonight. They lost to Lexington 14-3, so their playoff chances, at least to clinch the first half division, looking very slim. They've lost, I think, 5 in a row. Sheldon Noisy, though, did add another RBI. He's up to 37. Nick Banks, a couple ribbies. He's got 30. Steven Fuentes, the loss, 7 runs, 8 hits in 2 innings. And the Dominican Summer League, they won 5-1. By the way, Auburn kicks off on Monday against Batavia. You might see a lot of draft picks there once they sign. So as we look for more, see if we wrap it up here. Seth said, what do you guys grade the Nats draft? Now, I'm going to have a show on this Monday. We're going to be joined by the Nats GM. No, not Mike Rizzo. Ryan Sullivan from the Nats GM is back. He did a great job breaking down the draft. So I'm going to have him on. We're going to talk about some of those picks and what he expects. But we'll do a little preview of that right now, Seth, because you asked about it. Drew, what did you think of their draft? 9 pitchers in the first 10 picks.
Yeah, I really like them taking a lot of pitchers because they gave up a lot of pitching for Eaton, and so kind of restock the farm system. And I like I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about the pick of Romero just because of all his off-the-field issues. But if they can straighten him out, I think that could go down as one of the best first-round picks.
I need to see Seth Romero comment on everything. I haven't seen that anywhere. When he does, if and when he does sign, and he is a Boris client, so we'll see. But the slotting makes it easier. I need to see what he says on all the issues that he's had, whether it be on the field, off the field, whatever it is. That's going to make me feel more comfortable in the situation after I hear those comments. But he does deserve chances, but he's had a lot of chances. So that you hope the professional attitude and the mindset around the organization might help him. But that's the X factor in this entire draft, because he could be a bullpen guy because he only throw about less than 50 innings, or he could be a starter. They added I like the second baseman they took in the 4th round, Cole Freeman at LSU, which, by the way, Seth, I would recommend watch some College World Series this weekend in Omaha. A couple of the Nats picks are there. Cole Freeman, I mentioned, from LSU. They're playing Florida State tomorrow night at 8. So after the Nats game, go to ESPN, watch LSU, Florida State. That should be a fun matchup. And the 5th round pick, Brigham Hill, who pitches for Texas A&M. I don't know if he's starting, but it's Sunday afternoon at 2. They're supposed to play Louisville and Brendan McKay. So if you're looking for good college baseball and some of the Nats draft picks to keep an eye on, those might be 2 games you want to watch. But I like their draft. Some of these guys could be starters. Some of these guys could be relievers. Especially, the guy I kind of like, Drew, is like the wild card. This guy, Nick Rackett from William & Mary, who can throw 98 from the left side. Reminds me of like an Eddie Romero type because he walked so many guys at William & Mary. I think it was like 45.
Yeah, I mean, with 98, they'll always play. So if the Nats could develop him, and they have a history of developing pitchers pretty well, so it's always good to see just power arms, and hope they develop into possibly big league contributors someday.
All right, so let's talk about we wrap it up here. We thank you guys for tuning in as always. Ron's got something up on Alejandro De Aza, who is with the Syracuse Chiefs. Will help their outfield depth. I love the way Brian Goodwin's played when he's platooning. De Aza is 1 for 3 tonight with a couple of walks in right field, so that's where he's been playing. But, Drew, you had an article on Daniel Murphy, as you mentioned, had a hit tonight, got intentionally walked twice. And one thing I brought up to you before we hopped on the air here is I remember him in New York with the way that his defense was lacking. His defense, while it's not the best, has looked better. And we've seen him make some really good plays the last few days, especially tonight. I think the Darno double play, he saved Rendon from a wild throw and still turned 2. His defense in D.C. has definitely improved from what it was when he was in New York.
Yeah, he's worked really hard to improve his defense since coming to the Nets. And I wonder if some of that was possibly to spite the Mets after they let him go, possibly just because of his defense, because he's always been a good hitter. But he's an interesting defender because he'll make unbelievable like web gem plays, and then the next inning he'll drop a line drive or let a ground ball go right between his legs. But he's definitely much improved in the field.
You will never hear Daniel Murphy say it publicly, but that's probably it. There's a reason that he feels a lot of resentment because he didn't have a lot of offers out there, and the Mets really weren't going to go past the qualifying offer to get him after that great postseason. So there's a reason Murphy kind of plays with a chip on his shoulder against the Mets, but he's been great. I mean, if he doesn't get intentionally walked a couple of times in this game tonight, he would be probably looking at another multi-hit game. When you look at Murphy's lines, at least lately, that would have gave him a total of 7 multi-hit games in his last 10. I mean, he's been in that kind of a rhythm right now where it's tough to get him out. It's tough to get anybody in the middle of that lineup out where everybody's hitting over 300. So, Drew, thanks for joining me again. How can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me on Twitter at DrewRD98.
And Drew will have his player of the week on Sunday. It's always exciting to see who Drew picks. You never know who he's going to pick, and we're not telling you because you got to read it. So always go to there to check it out. Drew will be back with Ron, I believe, for the finale of the Marlins series, so that should be fun. I'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon after the game, so join me on Twitter. Again, if you hear anything that Bob and FP or Charlie and Dave say, because I'm watching on the Mets feed, so if you hear anything they say and you want to tell me, tweet it at District on Deck. Also, shout out to the Talk Nats crew. They're heading out to Citi Field tomorrow, so I hope they paint Citi Field red and represent the Nats well. So shout out to those guys, and if you're going, enjoy the game. Follow us on Twitter at District on Deck. Follow me on Twitter at Ricknator555. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube chat. We're going to have a lot of great interviews here. You can catch all of our post games. I have a lot of scheduled things. We're supposed to talk again with Ryan Sullivan on Monday, and hopefully in the next few days, we're going to talk with Kevin Gale, who's the Hagerstown announcer, and Mike Weissman, who's Potomac announcer. Their mid-season's coming up, so we'll get an update on what those teams did in the first half of their season. So you'll get to know some of those top prospects over there. So from all of us here at District on Deck, for Drew, for Chris, for Frank, for Ron, and for all of our District on Deck team, I'm Ricky Keeler, and hope you have a great night. And we'll see you back here late tomorrow night for Game 3 of this Nats-Mets series.